Richardson, I think you're representing yourself and Akaroa Museum Advisory Committee.
I am. So I brought my hat just to show which
hat you've got on.
Yeah, which hat I've got on today. So the first one is my farming hat, of which I'm very proud to wear my silver farm hat. So there we are. No, I haven't got my gumboots. I'm finely dressed.
I bet you've got your whistle in your pocket though.
Yes, I have got that in my pocket. So there are 16 copies or 17 copies of that I will talk about in my my own submission, and then there's one of those. Yes, please. And there's one of each of those for each of those. So. This one is just really very, very short and sweet, and it's about things that I'm very passionate about. It is about the Banks Peninsula, the biodiversity, and understanding the issues and feeling good about it and excited and wanting to do things. So in the first part of the submission I talk about the work of the Banks Peninsula Conservation Trust. And I'm not sure whether you all know about the Banks Peninsula Conservation Trust and the work that it does in our community. Now, it was started as a result of a very poor district plan process back in 2001. And here we are still today toiling away at and resolving those very same issues about ecological significance and the importance of looking after it and caring for it. But if we're going to feel comfortable about things, we actually have to be an excited little group of people or someone championing it and pushing it along. So I'm just asking that you support the Banks Peninsula Conservation Trust. I think they're coming with a submission sometime further down the track. So I'm sorry that I'm not sitting behind them, but I'm here today, and I hope that you'll support them when that comes to the table. You do need people to drive things. Very important that you have people to drive things and provide them with information. The second bit of the submission is about the identification of a significant Indigenous vegetation and a support package. Well, lo and behold, on the 24th of April, I had a quick look at what was in the draft plan, or draft district plan around significant ecological sites, and we've had two that have been identified in our property. Now, I understood that yes, they probably will, because I understand that they are pretty significant. But I was surprised to see it before we'd actually been really notified that we were going to be included in the plan. So I'm looking forward to the letter that comes to me. But because we've got a site, and if you look in the strategic policy planning combined, behind that you'll see a bit there about Chapter 9, Natural and Cultural Heritage, Sites of Ecological Significance, and I've only just given you one page from our the start of our document that talks about our land and our piece. You'll see that it's quite high up. It is a lovely piece, but if you go to the second page there, page 1285, in that I've just taken out the advice and guidance if requested by landowner about benefits, discussions with landowner about the benefits, assistance available where appropriate. So that brings me back to the documents that were behind the long-term plan, the Strategic Policy and Planning Combined Activity Management Plan. And there in page 21 of it, and I have included that, page 21, it talks about a support package for landowners with sites of ecological significance. So I'm just asking that you actually support this, this key change in the long-term plan and include it as part of the budget. It's not a lot of money, but a little bit of money sometimes can go a long way. And we're asking for support for information and others. So that's all I would like to say about my farming bits, and hope that you will support the Banks Peninsula Conservation Trust and some funding for sites of ecological significance. They are very much like your heritage homes, and you do provide, funding for those and information and support for those. So here is his cultural significance on land, and I'm asking for some support. So that's the end of that piece. Okay.
Did anyone have any questions on that? No, I think that's a pretty straightforward submission from you, Pam.
Right.
Not that we're used to anything other than straightforward submissions from you. Yep. Now, the future of Akaroa Museum.
Right. Well, I'll now put on my Akaroa Wairera Community Board chair Yeah, link, yes. And so this is, the Akaroa Museum has an advisory committee that sits behind it and works along with it. And this committee includes community members and community board members. And the Akaroa Museum director attends those meetings. And the purpose of those meetings is, of that committee, is to provide to the community board information, provide advice on strategic issues facing the museum and matters arising from them. Now, I wanted to give you some exciting things about the museum to start off with. That Linda Wallace, the museum director, and her team do an amazing job. Some of the activities recently being reported on are a recording of visitors' numbers, origin of visitors, visitor surveys, reviewing policies in relation to collection, acquisition and disposal, research and access, etc. Now, I have actually just, did I give that out to you? A slide here's another piece that you could whistle around, showing where all the visitors come from. So Linda does some sterling work, real professional in her job, and you know we get involved in looking at Akaroa Museum research and access policy. There's a number of policies that we all put together as a group. In the museum at the moment, strengthening steel is going into the repair. We're all excited about that. There's the imminent appointment of an exhibition designer with the funds for this coming from fundraising. And the team works very hard to help the Christchurch City Council by finding extra funding. And in fact, we found the extra $500,000 from the Ministry of Culture and Heritage. And a lot of the funds, the extra funding, has been sought for betterment. So when you come to look at our submission from the advisory committee, of which I'm the chair, we were a little disappointed to find in the activity management plan that a lot of the information was not, or some of the information was not correct, and it was not written with, or the museum director had not been included as part of the writing of that management plan. So it's very disappointing to see that he's left outside that process. There were some surprising things that came out of it, like being suggested that it makes good sense to ask Canterbury Museum to manage the Akaroa museums. There were some surprising things that came out of it, and certainly we're very disappointed in how things came about with that management plan. So you've got the submission there in front of you, and as I said, a lot of the funding that we are getting is from what we've found, what Linda has found herself to bring to the table. If you look at the graphs, the pie charts there, have you all got one? And that goes back to one of those statements there. I think I've given them all to you now, that's fine. When it talks about 24% of the visitors come from Banks Peninsula and the city. Thanks. So that's when you add together Christchurch City area there and Banks Peninsula. That is from the chart of January to December 2014, where there is a talk there of 17,000 visitors, and the one over the back is a bit longer, 21,000 visitors, and it looks as though we will reach 25,000 visitors this year to the museum. So if you remember also, the charges in the museum were dropped recently, and as a result, more people have come to the museum to see it. So it's a very valuable little hub in our community. It's not only for visitors, but our community get great value from it. So thank you. Is that 10 minutes?
Well, no, not quite. Well, yeah, you've got a bit of time, but I have to say that when I read your submission, I was very disappointed that there hadn't been that consultation. So, and in fact was quite shocked. And there really wasn't anything in the activity management plan process that we love so much and will never do again, that alerted to us the fact that there hadn't been any consultation. So, you know, I guess that it's highlighted for me what is a major deficiency in a process. So it seems that in looking for reductions across a budget, in the activity management plan process, it focuses council staff to look at silos rather than to look across the board, because I mean, you couldn't transfer it to the museum anyway, because the museum is a separate trust. It has a deed and it's governed by legislation. So, I mean, I was completely, you know, blown away by it. So I, you know, kind of would like to apologise, and we'll certainly take that on board in reviewing that particular activity management plan. Thank you. Ali?
The
yes.
entrance to the museum.
Yes.
We did that in the last activity management plan.
Right.
In the last annual plan.
Right. Is there any provision for donation?
Yes, there is a donation
That was
box.
a condition of
Yes. Okay,
removing it.
And there is
yeah.
Linda does keep the records of how many cents per visitor is paid, or how many 10 cents per visitor it is. I can't tell you what it is off the top of my head.
We would like an update on that, actually.
Right.
That, like how much was being received by way of charging and how much is received now. Because I know the visitors' numbers have gone up now that we've taken the charges off.
Yes.
But it'd be interesting to see whether we could be doing more to encourage donations.
Well, it certainly does impact. I mean, it's no doubt it
Yeah.
impacts.
Yeah.
And the museum has lost, I don't know, maybe $30,000 or $40,000, and I'm not quite sure if it was that high.
Yeah, but we need to know what the facts
lost something.
are. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yes, well, they do sell merchandise as well. So perhaps it would be good sometime for a presentation on what the Akaroa Museum does for you all. They're an amazing little group, and Linda's a fine professional behind it.
No, it's an amazing facility. All right, so now, I think we're going to take an adjournment now, and we're 3:45. We're due to start at 4 o'clock. With the community board submissions, so it gives us a 15-minute break.